Hello everyone. This is the little miniature Phalenopsis that I showed you the other day that I decided that I was going to wait until February to do a repotting on. What I did was I was gifted this about a month ago, and I thought, oh, it's still got some blooms that are salvageable on it, so I want to make sure that I keep those blooms. And then all of a sudden it got cold here. So I decided, okay, it's probably too cold to do a repotting on an orchid, because I'd always heard that you're not supposed to really repot orchids this late in the year. Okay, so I took it, I loosened the moss plug, I removed quite a bit of moss from it, and I thought that the moss left was nice and loose and that I was going to save it until February, till the weather started warming back up. Okay, so one of my subscribers, Michael, said, you know what? You might get a better result if you go ahead and do a repotting on it, because these little guys are very resilient. So I thought, that sounds right. So I'm going to be debunking a myth today. I have always held to the fact that, late repottings are probably not the best idea. Now, I would not repot a dendrobium at the end of October. I wouldn't repot my Cattleya at the end of October. And I'm not going to do any repotting on any of my phals that are in spike. But this one has been in bloom for a while. It's got just a few blooms left. They've all hardened. So I'm going to go ahead and do this repotting, and I'm going to see for myself. I believe that this one is going to be happier with me repotting it all together than waiting until February and leaving that iffy moss around it. So let me show you what I've done so far. Okay, here is what was left of the moss plug. Okay, let me show you. This is how much I'm going to use to repot the whole thing, and this is how much I got off of the phal today. I had probably taken off almost this much when I loosened and removed part of the moss a month ago. So you can see, this is how much moss it actually needs to be in. And this is beautiful moss. And here is the mound of old moss. It was packed really tightly. I believe that I would have lost some roots, if not the whole plant, if I had kept up that plan to just go ahead and leave it in the loosened moss. It was so tight that I had to just pinch it off little by little. So I went ahead and I bare rooted it. The roots looked good, except for one that was kind of, actually it was squishy, so I had to remove it. But this plant is in really good shape. As you see, it's got 7 leaves on it on a miniature that you just get. That is really, really good. So this is a healthy little orchid. It speaks to me. I love the color. I love the way that the spikes branch. So I want this one to do well. So I went ahead and I watered it this morning. The root system is plenty hydrated. I don't need to be watering it anymore today. And as you see, there's a little tiny bit of moss still stuck on the roots. If I remove that moss, it will actually damage the roots. I've tried my best to get all of it off that I can. I've gotten 99% of the moss off of it, but I'm going to be repotting it in new moss, so that's really not an issue. I just don't want to damage any roots. And I rehydrated the Better Grow Orchid Grade Sphagnum moss. I really do like this moss. What I did differently this time, though, than what I would have normally done this time last month in the warmer weather, is I squeezed almost all the excess moisture out of this moss. I don't want to start this little miniature out in sopping wet moss. I want it to be a little bit drier. When I was watering my moss orchids today, I noticed that they're just drying out very slowly, even the ones that are around my fans, which almost all of them are. So I don't want to start this one off in moss that's just too wet. So this one is going to be my guinea pig. I'm going to keep you all updated on its progress. I think it's going to do just very, very well. And I wanted to let you know what I was doing so that when I update you, you will have some source of reference from this video. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to repot this one. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to pause it and I'll show you the end result. So I'll be right back. Okay, this is the finished product. The moss was just damp, not really what I would call wet at all, just barely damp. And so I believe that this little orchid is going to be happier this way throughout the winter than if I had left that old yucky moss plug in place. So I just wanted to let you all know that this is what I was going to do with this one, and I'm going to do updates on this video. I'm really curious to see. I just think that this little mini is going to take off from here. So you all be highly favored, deeply loved, and greatly blessed, and we'll talk to you all next time.